Let's get started. Hello everyone. I'm Shri. I'm a privacy engineering lead at Google, and today we're going to do a talk on data privacy in you and what a career looks like. I'll the introduction short, and then we'll just do a roundtable so that you all can get familiar with our panelist, and just we'll just dive in. Harneet, do you want to go next?
Sure, yeah. I'm Harneet Kaur. I am currently a privacy engineer working in the content media streaming space. In the past, I've worked for fintech companies, traditional cloud computing companies, and even in consulting services. But my background is actually in business. So I studied business in college, did not study anything related to privacy, and then kind of found my way in to my work.
Awesome. Thank you. Nandita, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Nandita Nada. I head the technical privacy and governance team at DoorDash. Before that, I was part of a privacy tech startup and worked in consulting.
Sherin?
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Sherin Mathews. I am a principal AI research scientist within the Chief Digital Office Innovation team at US Bank. My background mainly is in the domain of AI, and I work on developing innovative solutions in the nexus of AI, security, and financial services.
Awesome. All right, let's dive in. Nandita, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, I think maybe we should just do a round robin and let the audience get to know us a little bit better by describing our career journeys. So maybe Harneet, we'll start with you. We're trying to do this alphabetically. So do you want to start?
Yeah, no worries. So like I mentioned, I started my career through consulting. So I joined a small public accounting firm that had a consulting arm right out of college. And they happened to be diving into the privacy space. So this was around like 2017, 2018. GDPR was coming right onto the scene. And so that was kind of like my first introduction to privacy. Really loved it. Ended up going in-house on a privacy role on a privacy legal team at Dropbox after that. And so that was kind of like my first real dedicated privacy role. And it was on the legal side. And then after that, I switched to a privacy engineering team at Robinhood. And that's really like where my technical privacy career began. And so since then, it's been a couple of years. I've moved into new privacy engineering roles as well. But that's kind of like where I started and how I got to where I'm at.
Thanks, Ernie. Maybe I'll go next. So my undergrad was in computer science. I got my master's degree in cybersecurity at Carnegie Mellon, which had a very good privacy engineering research function at that point. They didn't have any other privacy engineering master's program or coursework per se, but that got me interested into the privacy space, and I joined EY, which was like one of the only companies that was hiring for privacy roles pre-GDPR, and worked in a number of different functions within the organization in cybersecurity, GRC, insider threat, forensics, data discovery, data governance, before joining being a founding team of a data risk startup, which was a very interesting and challenging part of like a career pivot for me. And post that, I figured that this was the right time to have a career in privacy make sense. And it was a viable thing that had lots of potential. So I joined DoorDash and built their technical privacy team.
Awesome. Sherin, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I think so. I think in terms of my career trajectory, after my undergrad and master's and my PhD in the domain of AI, I had a couple of internships in the domain of AI. And prior to this role, I was a senior scientist at Intel Security, or McAfee, where I had worked on developing like next generation security solutions using my background, like computer vision and deep learning, for increasing, I would say, the effectiveness of current cybersecurity products. So that was my like the initial exposure, and I realized like I really like things which are challenging. Like if you talk about security as such, you it is a field where it's constantly evolving. You will find cases where attackers find new way to breach something or sensitive information. So I personally enjoy problem solving, and I'm looking for something that is like challenging, and someone who is looking for that kind of role, I think cybersecurity is a great fit. And plus, that kind of aligned with what I'm looking at, like how I can apply my skills or my knowledge into this domain of cybersecurity. And then from then I kind of roped up the ladder, where I was now able to tackle like different aspects of security, like solving deepfake problems or explainability challenges in with applications to security.
Cool. Right, I can go next. So I have a similar background to Nandita, similar trajectory, I would say. Um, so I got my undergrad in computer science, and then I did something very unrelated. I did business application programming for SAP applications, and wasn't really what I wanted to do at that time. So then I wanted to switch gears, pursue my master's, and then I knew that security was definitely something that I wanted to pivot on, given my interest in cryptography and all of that at that time. So I decided to get my master's in cybersecurity, and during the course, I ended up working with a couple of companies for my internship, and one of them was NBC Universal. So I got my first security internship there. It was a co-op program through college, and then I did incident response. And then it was quite taxing to be like a first line responder as a student. There was a lot that I learned and took back. And then I did my capstone project, and that was mostly research oriented at that time. Blockchains were the shiny new thing. And then I was like a blockchain research intern at Philips. And then when I got my first real job in security, it was in consulting. And I mean, even when I look back, I think I'm very happy that I took that. I made that choice. So I was a consultant at PwC, and I think it gave me so much exposure into the various domains of security. Maybe AppSec, network security, security maturity assessments, and so on. So it was that role gave me a lot of exposure, being a newcomer in the field, and then eventually once I started figuring out the ropes, I was like, maybe I need a little bit of change from consulting. Maybe that's not my cup of tea. And then I switched roles and joined Autodesk. And even then, I was supposed to be doing both. I was hired as a security and privacy engineer. A lot of my interview was like focused on security, but then when I joined in, I think the timing was such that it was around the time when GDPR came into effect. So that's how privacy kind of fell in my lap, and I ended up doing a lot of privacy impact assessments, and I was one of the first privacy engineers too. So it was an interesting time. There was a lot I learned by doing stuff and not actually by through theory when it came to privacy. So I guess that's how I paved my way and then just figured it out. And eventually I took up the role after a couple of years at Google, which was privacy incident response. It was kind of an intersection of what I've done before in the security space, plus, um, with the privacy background. So I thought that was interesting. And then that's how it's been for 4 years plus, I think, and I'm still in the same team, still continuing to do privacy incident response. So I actively respond to privacy issues, breaches, and so on, and then lead some of the incident prevention remediation work here at Google. All right, so now that we know a lot about our panelists, maybe Harneet, do you want to take it forward?
Yeah. So now that we've kind of gotten to know everyone on the panel and like how your career journey has been, let's kind of focus at the beginning of your career journey where maybe your privacy knowledge was very new. What resources did you use to begin your career journey? And some folks have security experience, so please feel free to speak to that. Others have privacy. Please feel free to speak to that. We're going alphabetical, so I guess I'll answer the question first. So for myself, I used a lot of different resources because I didn't study a privacy specific or a technical field that was adjacent to privacy. And so for me, I focused a lot on self-education. So the IAPP has a lot of resources that are available. They have white papers, they have articles, and a lot of other things that were very useful for me to kind of understand, what does risk look like from a privacy perspective and things like that. I also looked at some companies that are kind of publicly known to really emphasize privacy as like a brand differentiator. And I looked at what white papers they were putting out, what was being discussed on their tech blogs. And another thing that I'll mention is I also focused, especially since at the beginning of my career, GDPR was very new to the scene. I also focused on what content was coming out of a lot of the supervisory authority offices. So some of the big ones that a lot of companies will work with based on where their international presences include IDPC in Ireland. That's a big one. The ICO in England or CNIL in France. They're really great about putting out really helpful content. And so I used that to really supplement what was going on in my day job to build up my knowledge. Nandita, do you want to kind of share?
Yeah, sure. At least when I was starting out, there wasn't that much privacy focus to begin with. There was no GDPR. So the privacy sort of thought leadership was more focused on HIPAA or financial sector, which were not honestly like not super interesting for me at that time. What I did was I joined a research org within EY. They had like a research and development function, so you could do a rotation with them. And what that let me do is my part of my job was actually to read these new thought leadership, and they would source like unpublished materials or like draft versions, and my job was to review those and see how those could be leveraged to build enablers or like assessment frameworks or cross maps for different regulations. So it was a very interesting role that just allowed me to learn. Another thing with at least consulting orgs is they really incentivize self-learning. There was a lot of support to be able to like go get certifications, study for any coursework that if you could show that that relates to your job performance, and if you could build a case that this is going to help you grow your career and like make you better at doing your job, then there was a lot of support to be able to like get reimbursements, to go to conferences, to learn and to buy books. So I think I leveraged that to the maximum possible, and every year got at least one certification, at least went to one conference, and got the company to sponsor one course. Sherin, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I think both of you have covered quite a good content here. But for me, I think I come from AI space, and I have explored like the area of how AI could be applied for security. So security as such is a field, personally to me, that's constantly evolving. There's always something new to learn. So people who enjoy learning and who like to stay updated, that's something which is essential as core in this domain. Now, in terms of resources, as other folks have mentioned, you have these online courses like Coursera, EDX. They kind of offer you a platform, including like introductory courses and even advanced topics if you want to specialize on something. And then, like I think, as Nandita mentioned, you have these books that you have catered to a particular domain that you want to specialize in. You can look into that aspect. I think additionally from me, like since I come from a research background, I have this exposure of, reading papers, and I end up like attending conferences as part of my work, wherein I get to know the latest and I think the latest that is being developed, and that helps me to always, stay abreast with what is the latest happening. And in terms of even online communities, like there are these Reddit groups or even GitHub communities where they actually, host and share frameworks that are new. So kind of keeping yourself updated on them always helps you to make sure that you are on top of your game there.
Yeah. I think mine's also along the same lines. But what I did as a student was attend a lot of meetups. So I went to grad school in Boston, in Northeastern University. So Boston had this very unique vibe where you had a lot of startups, and Cambridge just is it's a small place with a lot of bustling talent, I guess. So I guess that location advantage was there, where I could attend a lot of meetups, and these meetups used to be focused on security, and I got to meet a lot of, as a student, I got to meet a lot of folks from the industry, and that gave me um, that unique exposure of trying to understand how I can connect what I'm studying today with how it could be applied in a couple of years when I start working. So, and also they help navigate some of the how do I get my first internship, or how can I find a good capstone project, and so on kind of questions. So. Meetups is definitely something that I really enjoyed going to. And then, as Nandita alluded to certifications, I think I took my CISSP as well well, you need like 5 years of experience and all that. So I still went ahead and got an associate when I was doing my internship, because I just wanted to go through that breadth of security, if not the depth. That's how they describe CISSP the certification. And then I did attend DEF CON, Black Hat, and a few other conferences, and did some courses through these conferences as well. Definitely all those were helpful. And then I'd also um, I'd also taken up a few courses similar to what Sherin was alluding to, more around advanced topics like cryptography, or just attending some capture the flag contests, and so on. So that's more around the security piece. But with privacy, I feel like I was just like thrown into do privacy. So there was no um, all of this did not happen for the privacy space. It was more around figure it out on the go and just learn on the job kind of thing. And then learned a lot by experimentation and like meeting other industry folks through IAPP conferences, and so on. And of course, all the thought leadership was super helpful, trying to understand what law firms were putting out there about the new regulations. How do you tie engineering to all the laws coming up, and so on. So it was a very interesting time. All right. So, Nandita, I think you're next.
Sorry, I was like looking at the chat and I've lost my chain of thought. But I think the next question is focused on how do you find jobs and internships in the privacy field or security field. If you had to like give some pro tips based on like how you went about it, and there's a lot of I think like the audience members are sort of like looking for that sort of guidance on where do I start, and what are some like uh, tips and tricks to get noticed and get in front of those recruiters and hiring managers. Harneet, do you want to start with this?
Yeah, definitely. I actually recently switched roles, so I think maybe I can share some relevant recent experience for experienced hires. But kind of starting out with folks who are just brand new to privacy, maybe just getting out of school or looking to kind of make a career transition right now. Besides all the great education options that folks have mentioned already, I would say maybe start by casting a very wide and general net when it comes to looking at roles. As you can hear, a lot of us are actually initially starting our careers in consulting. And so, consulting roles can either hire directly into privacy or more as a generalist. And then you have the opportunity to pick and choose projects and dive into expertise and skill sets that resonate with you. So consulting is definitely a great way to break into the space if you don't have experience in it beforehand. And that's, like if you're at a stage where you're maybe not in school anymore. If you're in school, how folks have mentioned, Tree mentioned, internships are a great opportunity to do that. Ways to kind of stand out, I would definitely say, be very thoughtful about like where is the dialogue going around privacy. So, for example, right now, we have a lot of dialogue going on about AI, and Sherin can definitely speak to this, but what does that mean, right? And like if you're looking at a job at a fintech company, what does that mean for fintech? Or if you're looking at content streaming, what does that mean for content streaming? Be able to have thoughtful dialogues where you can show how your privacy knowledge is implemented and feel very comfortable contributing to things like Substack posts, or a lot of folks are very active in privacy LinkedIn groups. Participate in those dialogues, learn from people who are also in the field, and that'll kind of help you not only build your knowledge, but also build connections that could lead to a role down the line as well. Nandita?
Yeah, Harneet, I think you covered most of the things that I was going to talk about. One data point is, if this is a very hard job market, I'm not seeing a lot of jobs right now. And there have been a string of layoffs recently, like even this year. So I understand that it might not be as easy as it was a couple of years ago. So if there is an opportunity to find lateral moves, or if you think there is a sister team that is doing something that's more aligned to your long-term career goals, I think finding a role internally or switching or doing some sort of rotational programs might not be a bad idea to be able to get those hands-on experience. It's hard because a lot of the jobs ask for at least a couple of years of experience, and if you're just starting out, it's sometimes difficult to prove how do you like get into the door. So it's, if you don't have super relevant experience, you can show open source projects or some other volunteer work, or like contributing to other research or projects with like a sister team. Those might all be good things to like put in your resume and make it stand out a little bit more than just saying that you graduated and now you're looking into this like super niche field which is asking for at least a couple of years of experience.
Yeah, I think just to add on to this, I think Nandita and Harneet covered a lot here. But in addition to looking at developing your skills or even networking, I think looking at new challenges. I think one thing you need to understand is we need to stay adaptable rather. The tech industry as such is constantly evolving, so you need to be prepared to adapt to new technology, new trends. These might involve like learning completely new skills, taking on new responsibility, or switching to a completely different kind of skill set. So always trying that, keep your skill set up, always skill up, so that way you can always make sure that you are focusing on the right thing there. And in addition, when you combine this with say networking, or even seeking out like looking for opportunities, taking up leadership roles, you can actually grow up your tech career and possibly change jobs to pursue new opportunities.
Yeah, I think I'll take a slightly different perspective here, since most of you all have spoken about how you can get into the door and so on. So maybe I'll touch a little bit upon how you can pivot from either security to privacy, or from a software background to security, or like from a non-technical background entirely to like security or privacy. So security to privacy, I feel like the transition is quite more straightforward compared to the other transitions, because they're quite adjacent, and um, there's um, there's no privacy without security, and so on. So it's all intertwined, right? So definitely you could just show your interest towards privacy by taking up a few courses or projects or certifications and so on. But when you're moving from a software role, similar to what Harneet was alluding to, like trying to bring that privacy lens or a security lens into the role, or like the vertical to which you are interviewing for, would definitely be something that you can bring to the table as a value add. So besides knowing how the software actually works, and like learning how to write code, or like whatever part of software engineering you do, being able to bake privacy into that, and like demonstrating your strength in privacy by design concepts, I think would definitely make you stand out. And mostly around like engineering privacy within software, kind of a niche skill set. So it all depends on how you position yourself and what you bring to the table. So I would encourage people to do that. And when it comes to a non-technical background to a security or privacy role, I think most of the things which all the others covered, like being able to demonstrate that interest for this field through open source projects, or there are lots and lots of avenues where you can You can just work alongside other leaders, other seasoned leaders in the privacy space, and work on these public projects, um, to publish some policies, or to create new frameworks and so on. We'll go into some of that in a few questions, but I would really encourage like trying to do a lot more work around volunteering and like all of that project work, outside of just what you do in your day job. I think that'll definitely make you stand out.
Thanks, Shri. I'm seeing several questions in the chat focused on pivots. So
Right.
maybe let's talk about, how have we at least made those decisions to pivot or change jobs or progress in careers. What resources did we use to make those decisions?
Right.
And maybe Harneet, sorry, I'm like, maybe we should change this.
I can actually take that question too. Maybe I can start and then. I've done a few pivots, so maybe I can speak through that. So, like I told you guys, I started my career in consulting, and then what made me feel like consulting was probably not carved out for me is I felt like the career trajectory over there um, would require me to probably go from a very technical role to very quickly into a non-technical space where I enter more into the leadership area. But I still wanted to be more technical, um, while holding some leadership roles. Um, and back then I just wanted to try and see if joining a product company would give me a different exposure, and that's the age when you're really trying to try new things. So that's how I pivoted. And when I pivoted, I wanted to join a vertical, or rather a company which was not so much into security at all. So when I joined Autodesk, I'm like, they have 3D modeling softwares. That's what they make. So what is so concerning for them from a security standpoint, right? So that was kind of a motivation factor. It was more about, let me learn what it looks like to do security um, in like a non-healthcare or non-fintech kind of sector, right? um, and then I was really surprised by how much I learned in a space like that. And um, and I guess those career moves sometimes involve like taking risks. So I guess you need to have that appetite. You need to be in that stage of life to be able to take those risks as well. So that's how I pivoted. And then from there, I when I was looking for a new role, because I had already worked in privacy for a little bit, I want to do something more challenging, be in a space where privacy is front and center important for an organization, and privacy is seen more than like a compliance checkbox. And it's there's a lot more research around privacy as well. So that's how um, I I was drawn to Google, and then eventually you know moved into the core privacy engineering slash response space over here. So I'll probably pass over here and let the others take a stab at this as well. Maybe Harneet, since you've recently switched as well, maybe you can share some of the experience that you've gone through during that switch.
Yeah. So my pivots have really been focused on like within privacy pivots, which is interesting because I guess like my more severe pivot was like right out of school when I went from not a privacy focus to a privacy focus. And again, the way that I kind of tackled that was by picking a generalist role where I could tackle different areas of cybersecurity in a consulting lens and find where my strengths were. So that I think is a great way to kind of approach that. I know there are a lot of questions in the chat that are focused on like, how do I go from being a non-privacy experience to a privacy experience? Some folks are in healthcare, some folks are software engineers, things like that. I would say like look at like the realm of your team and your job description as it is today and look at how privacy could make it better. So I know there was a question from someone about non-technical healthcare background. That's great. There's a lot of privacy implications of that type of role outside of HIPAA as well. You can look at how do we manage data on our team? How do we destroy data after we're done using it, right? You can also take a look at data governance. How is that managed? How do we onboard vendors? How do we like remove vendors from our use? What does the workflow look like there? And that's just for someone from a healthcare background. If someone's on the software engineering background, what practices can I adopt on a daily basis that'll improve the privacy of what I'm building or our product development lifecycle? So kind of focusing on how you can improve privacy where you are today will help you kind of build the story around your pivot for the next role that you're interested in. Nandita?
Sure. So at least in my consulting career, I pretty much like traversed through every possible, function there was in forensics and security, core security, insider threat, and digital discovery, data governance. So there was a lot of things I was doing. And at that time, when I was making these pivots, I wasn't really thinking about like how this aligns to my end career goal. I was just going with the flow. Because I was part of a team which was super innovative, and pretty much whatever they were picking up, I was going along with it, without not a lot of thought process. It's only when I did my own startup that when you build something from scratch, as a founding team, that gave me a lot of confidence that if I was able to build something that got millions in seed funding, and there were like people willing to buy it as part of a really small team, then yes, I could do anything. Like that was the most difficult thing that I've done so far, like being in an early stage startup. So and then I started like taking more risks. Taking on roles like the DoorDash role itself. At that time, it was an individual contributor role as the first, technical person in the privacy team. So, at the face of it, it looked really difficult and challenging compared to like some of the other offers I had from more established teams, and being like having a more established OKR setup, and like what you're doing, you have mentors, and you can learn from them. But I'm glad I made the choice of like taking the more difficult option and the more like unstructured question, to be able to really prove that yes, if I can do it at like an organization at this scale, I feel like now I'm ready to like take on more. Anyone else wants to add to career pivots?
I think we have summed it up well. Yeah, looks like.
Okay. I'm seeing a lot of questions around like the job types. So maybe let's take a step back, and if we can explain to the audience on like, if you want to join privacy, what are the different types of roles out there, and what does a privacy engineer, like what does privacy engineering mean? Maybe let's start with the broad question of what is a privacy engineering, or what does a privacy engineer do? And I'll start with you.
Yeah, of course. I think like fundamentally, even if there are like different role specifications, privacy engineering is about how do you embed privacy by design and default into like business processes, systems, tooling, and everything up and down an organization from a technical standpoint. And so broadly, that means kind of really taking a privacy lens to everything you do. Whether your team is spinning up a new service or onboarding a new tool or building a business process to support an internal need, you are asking privacy questions throughout the privacy lifecycle and the data lifecycle, and making improvements, making adjustments based on the risk that's present there. It definitely doesn't operate in a silo. You're usually working very closely with your partners who are on privacy legal, for example, various different software teams you might be working with, your data teams, your eng teams, privacy operations as well. So for some teams, privacy operations can reflect like a customer support arm that's kind of focusing on managing that direct relationship with the customers of your company that you work for. It can also mean like your boots on the ground analysts who are kind of going out there, putting together the documentation, running assessments that need to be done on privacy's behalf. So it's very general in that sense, but like I kind of mentioned, as a whole, privacy engineering is really about like, how do we make privacy a no-brainer for the organization and make it the paved path for everyone. Shri, since you're also a privacy engineer, do you want to kind of add on to that?
Yeah, sure. So I feel like the role of a privacy engineer really depends on the organization and where it sits and so on. In my first role as a privacy engineer, it was the function was part of the security organization. So it was seen more as a security sister org, and then um, we we used to do, so security has a lot of like parallel things, right? Like security threat modeling, security risk assessment, um, application security, or like security assessments and so on. So we would try to mirror similar things that was done in security similarly. So it would be more around privacy threat modeling, privacy risk assessments, privacy impact assessments, and so on. So you could be a privacy engineer doing some technical analysis and like review work like this, or you could be doing core research work. You could actually be building new libraries. You could also be developing privacy policies. You could also be doing privacy red teaming. You could you could also work closely with the legal team. You could be doing incident response like me. Um, so I feel like there are various things, various roles that a privacy, various hats that a privacy engineer can wear, and it really depends on the organization and what you want to do. So when you look for roles, it would say privacy engineer on the front, and then when you go in, you will realize, when you read the job description, it either looks like you will do all of this or you will do a portion of this. So that really depends on where your interest lies and how you can actually pick which part of privacy engineering really interests you.
Because both of you have spoken about privacy engineering, I've dropped a link to the IIPP definition of privacy engineering. It does go to like some of the different like parallel tracks. You can view privacy engineering as an intersection. To the second question around, other than like, let's say, a privacy engineer, what are some of the other jobs out there, and that especially for people with non-technical backgrounds can target, or somebody who's trying to pivot from a GRC background? There are a few options out there. There is like a generic role for privacy operations or privacy analysts. So they generally work on vendor risk assessments, but from a privacy perspective, like pretty much everything that Shri mentioned, that similar to what the security GRC function is doing, but then from a privacy perspective, you're doing privacy impact assessments or risk assessments, helping with investigations, supporting an incident response team from a security team with like some of the breach related aspects from a privacy perspective. The other like sort of job function that exists is a privacy assurance job function, which is privacy audit. So if you have an audit background, that would be a really nice fit for you to be able to leverage frameworks like the NIST privacy framework, or an ISO privacy framework into how do you enable that in a company? How do you make sure that what the privacy engineers built is actually functioning, and you can report on it? So like privacy assurance is also a field that is an option for non-technical people to transition to. Another one that I feel like, and that Harneet already alluded to, and sometimes it's not called a privacy engineering function, but like more of a consulting role. You're an advisor to, let's say, marketing orgs or design orgs. You're sort of a privacy champion or a go-between who is not necessarily a privacy engineer, but has a privacy mindset, and is aware of risks and harms, is aware of privacy by design. So it depends, again, like to Shri's point, in your organization or in like the organizations that you're targeting, what these roles are called. And it could also be the same individual is being asked to do everything, which I have seen is common, especially for small organization. You have one or two people who are tasked with everything that is technical privacy. So if you're looking to learn, I think like those roles would be the most interesting from a learning standpoint, where you get experience with doing everything.
Cool. I think let's again switch to another domain. Like I think in terms of how does education help in this space? Like does education, I mean, that's just more generic question. Has education kind of caught up with the advancements in this field, or in what situations would you recommend someone say pursue a similar line of work? What certifications would you recommend? So I think I'll break the jinx. I will start answering the question itself. I think my background has been specifically in the domain of AI. Like I have a PhD in deep learning and applied that to many domains like computer vision, at least in my PhD, and then post in Intel, where I was looking at applying AI for solving security problems. I can share insights as to say how higher education helps in the security space. One thing is for sure, the higher education landscape is definitely evolving to keep pace with, say, the rapid advancements in this field of security. Now, you might have also come across many universities or even institutions who are offering, say, degrees or even certificates specialized in security courses. I mean, I'm kind of focused on cybersecurity. Say, you can have a course on app security or network security or cryptography or even incident response, risk management. So, I would recommend someone to pursue a similar education path like me, provided like it's kind of helpful in many reasons. Like, say, you don't have that foundational knowledge, going to a program definitely provides you that solid foundation in your security principles, in practices and technologies. Now, which can be beneficial for students who are entering in this field. Additionally, I think doing a higher education here helps you with more research opportunities. They often involve research projects that can actually contribute to the advancement of the knowledge in this field. Now, when you go into a program like this, you are also benefited by networking opportunities, right? So you have university programs that offer opportunities to connect with peers, professors, or even industry professionals. So that can actually help you for career development. So I think in situations when someone is considering a similar education path, I think they should clearly evaluate what that curriculum is offering, the faculty, the industry connections. It is also important to, I would say, consider the program, whether it offers, experience with hands-on experience, internships, or even practical learning experience. So that's kind of very valuable for a career, specifically in the field of security. I mean, ultimately, the decision should be based on, say, a person's individual career goals and the specific skills that he's trying to acquire. I think choosing a career is like basically choosing a future. So make sure you kind of choose wisely. But this is like my broad perspective as to how, like, do you want to pursue a higher education? This is like what I kind of cater to decide. I think I'll leave it open to anyone who wants to add anything here.
Maybe Nandita, do you want to talk about some certifications? Because I know you have a lot of certification. Maybe you can touch a little bit on certifications in the privacy space, how to choose one, and and then since
Yeah.
we have like 10 minutes more, maybe we'll start wrapping up so that we have enough time for the audience to ask us questions.
Yeah, I think like for starter certification, like if you have no idea what privacy is, IAPP's CIPM, the Certified Information Privacy Manager, is a good certification to begin with. It's also relatively easy for non-technical people to grasp, and it opens the door for technical like privacy analysts, privacy operations, privacy program manager roles. If you're looking to be more like if you're looking to be more technical in the sense that you already have some sort of like engineering background, I would recommend there are a few books on privacy engineering. Nishant Pacharia has an excellent book. William Stallings has a very good book on privacy engineering. Those two books are really good. And then there is also a very good recent book on privacy preserving machine learning, which is more applicable if you have some sort of like data science or machine learning background and you're looking to pivot into a privacy engineering role. they don't really have certifications per se for privacy engineers, but there are resources available. There are these courses. I know that there are some paid courses available on Coursera, and Carnegie Mellon has an executive certification program. I believe it's less than $1,000 from what I remember, but it'd be great to like get your company to sponsor something like this if you can't fund it out of pocket. But like some of the IPP ones, and the ISACA has another privacy certification, CDPSE, which is a little bit more technical. They are all under 500, so you should be able to self-fund it to be able to like pivot into these roles.
Shri, you're on mute, I think.
Sorry. Can you tell me, Nandita, what was that book that you were mentioning about the privacy enhancing technologies? I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, privacy preserving. I dropped the links here. I was actually trying to put links for three amazing women who I follow for privacy red team related content. I think someone had asked, like Kim Woods is one I've posted.
Rebecca.
Yeah, let me find her. I'm going to post those because whoever's interested, I think like these women definitely are the thought leaders.
Yeah, I had the opportunity of working with Rebecca here at Google. So let me share her contact.
Yeah, I put the LinkedIn profiles.
Yes, awesome. Yeah, I've worked with Emlyn too. Yeah, they're all some great Google Red Team, privacy red teaming alumni. Awesome. Since we have about 6.5 minutes, maybe we can just open the floor for the audience to ask some Q&A. So I do believe we have Chahatdeep Kaur who will be moderating our chat. So Chahatdeep, do you want to, how do you want to moderate the questions? Would you be, do you want us to go through in the order in which they were asked, or would you be leading the conversation?
Okay, I can moderate the chat. So yeah, I'm just like going bottom up.
Okay.
Sandra's question is, I have a master's in data science, but no work experience in it because I went straight to cybersecurity. I would be interested to see how I can apply my degree. Sherin, do you have some pointers, because this is your field?
Yeah, I think people don't realize this, but I think AI has a lot of potential in security space, like not just privacy. Like I think I came into a domain where I was, very, enlightened, I would say, to see that there were so many avenues where AI could be applied. Since data science, you have that pipeline on how you could apply these data science for different applications. So for example, I can just give you an example where you're trying to solve an attack, like say ransomware or some kind of threat. You can actually develop, or even like even if you don't have hands-on experience working in a company, you can actually look at side projects where you can start investigating how you could build a data science pipeline to solve a particular attack scenario. And that's where you would gain experience of how it is done, and then that way you can build your profile to see like what matches where. Yeah.
Sounds good. I think we already covered, Sandra, your other question on what is an example of a technical role in privacy. We also have the resource of the IAPP link, which sort of spells out the different privacy engineering roles. So I'm scrolling up. Looks like a lot of questions have already been answered. So if there are any additional questions, we still have a few minutes, so we'll be happy to answer new questions. We also talked about transitioning from GRC. I think we've answered this question, but I'll still read it out in case anybody has anything else to add. From what I've seen on job postings, privacy engineer, analyst can cover a lot of different types of responsibilities, from compliance to engineering or design. Can you all share what your different responsibilities look like, especially if it's not something you might expect? I think we spoke about some of our job responsibilities, but I think the one that I haven't spoken about is just putting out fires, which is a lot of what I do. This is all the unplanned work and last minute stuff that just comes up, and sometimes it's not even clearly defined as privacy, more ethics or more adjacent field that privacy just gets voluntold to do. So those are some of the lesser known aspects of my job. And Shri and Harneet, Sherin, is there any like unexpected things you do that you want to highlight?
Yeah, so as my job is also essentially like being a firefighter. So as part of that, sometimes it's not clearly a privacy issue, but it's more of a trust issue, right? Where the user would have certain expectations and then the product is working as intended, but you have eroded user trust in some way or the other. How do you preserve it? How do you improve maybe some of the UX aspects of it? How do you explain things better to the user, right? Sometimes it's a gray area. It's not exactly privacy, it's more trust. So I think I find trust a very interesting field. It's quite adjacent to privacy as well, so that's also something that we do. We work with additional stakeholders beyond just like trying to fix the engineering side of that and like fix bugs and so on. It's also about making it more clear for the user, keep making the user comfortable in using a particular tool or a service. So I guess that's another yeah, I know I did not speak much about privacy UX, but I think it's a very, very important function. um, yeah, which normal UX designers can consider as a pivot as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I would plus one to that. Trust and safety is like a very large adjacent sister field. I like to think about it to privacy. You're always dipping your toes into that. You're dipping your toes into things like application security sometimes. It really just depends on what the day brings. Sometimes you're doing privacy incident response. Other times you're learning about content moderation and like, okay, how do we manage content? Like, how do we make sure that we're filtering out certain types of words? Other times you're looking at like ML models and you're trying to help teams kind of develop safe practices there. It really varies day by day on the business need and on the industry needs as well. So some industries are more heavily regulated than others. And so that really influences stuff as well.
I think there is a question in the chat which is catered specifically for cybersecurity. Can I take that?
Sure.
Yes, Sherin, please.
The question is like, do you have any advice on how to prepare for cybersecurity interviews? Certainly, like preparing for a cybersecurity core role is definitely challenging, but with the right approach, you can definitely increase your chances, say acing the interview and even landing your dream job. But first thing is like research the company that you're looking for. Like before prepping your interview, make sure that you know what the company is doing and the position exactly what you're trying to apply for. This will help you align and also understand the company's priorities, expectations. Look on their information. That helps. And then you have to brush up your technical skills. That goes like underlying depending on what area are you looking at. Is it network security? Is it threat assessment or cryptography or any other security topics? Once you're done with reviewing your technical skills required for that position, say practice solving problems related to those topics. And then once that is done, like specifically in cybersecurity, you should at least learn about the more commonly known threats, like familiarizing with what is phishing, what is ransomware, what is DOS attack, like understand how they work and how to mitigate them. And you can practice with like some examples. So those are some of the few things that I would definitely like, it's a must do before going for any of those domains questions. Yeah.
Since we are 30 seconds over time, we should probably wrap up now. Well, thank you all for keeping this discussion super engaging and for the audience for asking such wonderful questions. I hope this was useful for all of you. You can always connect with us on LinkedIn, and we'd be happy to take any additional questions and speak with you all and so on. But thanks everyone. Have a good day and have a good conference. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.